Hi, this is Ed again, and I just was informed that it's December the 28th, so we're in the last few days of the year 2020, and I'll be okay with seeing this year pass by. So New Year's will be in a couple of days. And what I'm talking about today is designed for the Atheist, a Bird with No Cage YouTube channel, but I think we'll put it on both channels. The other channel is English from Canada with Eddie. Is that the right name?
Yes, it's correct.
Okay. And because basically I'm just speaking English, and I hope I will speak fairly clearly and not use too much exotic vocabulary or anything like that, so that if you just want to practice your listening comprehension, you can just listen to what I have to say. Okay, I want to talk about an idea that I'm taking from a few years ago. A few years ago, I used to visit a friend just down the street here, like less than 2 blocks away, close to the OXXO. And he had a little restaurant, and I used to go down there and have something to eat, and we would talk. And he's a very religious man. He's a born-again Christian, and we would talk about my atheism and his religion and all of that. And one day, in a discussion, he suggested that me not believing in God, in the existence of God, was a sign that I was what's the word? Oh my goodness, the word's slipping away from me. Thought that he was suggesting that I want to be God. And I pointed out to him that no, I didn't want to be God. I just didn't believe that God exists. And he said, well, he thought that, anyway, he still thought that meant that I didn't want there to be a God because I wanted to be God. And I pointed out that no, I didn't want to be God, and I didn't think the idea of a God was even possible. Nobody could be God, and so I certainly didn't want to be God. By the way, on that issue, I have changed my mind. And if anybody asked me that, now I would say, well, if the idea of a God is possible, sure, I'll take the job for a while. I think that if I were God, for example, in 5 minutes, I could make the world a much better place, given that I had the power to do anything. You know, I just, like, immediately, if I were God, there would be no more cancer, there'd be no more heart disease, be no more children dying at birth, there'd be no more tsunamis or those kinds of things. Easy to make the world better than, so I could easily do a better job than the God that they believe exists, that I don't believe exists. But anyway, this discussion was more about, he was suggesting that I lost a word here. It's an old guy moment. That I was very, what's the word when one thinks that I am the greatest kind of idea? Sorry, I can't say it right now. But anyway, my response was, wait, just a minute. You think I'm that kind of person because I don't believe that God exists? Meanwhile, he, as a born-again Christian, is saying that his whole thing is, it's not like a religion, it's about a relationship with Jesus. In other words, a relationship with God, because he believes that God and Jesus are the same thing. I don't know. I don't want to get into that Trinity kind of idea, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, his claim is that he has a personal relationship with Jesus, i.e. God. So I pointed out to him, okay, look, I don't believe that God exists, but I do believe, I do depend on, well, the first person I depend on hugely is my wife, Glenda. I love her, and I'm grateful to her that all she does for me, and I would, there's no question that in a given circumstances, I would give my life to save hers and all that. I love her tremendously. I love the idea of being a musician. I love the idea of, I'm grateful for having lived here in Mexico for the last more than 24 years now, and all of that. So when it comes to the question of how highly I think of myself, I think I'm very dependent on a lot of things, especially, like I said, my wife. I have friends that I depend on. I love my music, and I love studying Spanish and learning, and salute. And anyway, I pointed out to him, arrogant, that's the word I'm looking for. He was accusing me of being arrogant because he thought, or he thinks, that I'm kind of replacing God with myself. Well, I'm not replacing God with anything personally, because I don't believe that God exists. But as far as, like, maybe in a way he's right, because, for example, I'm the one that decides what is right and wrong in terms of morality. I decide what's right for myself, how I'm going to treat people, how I'm going to behave as a human being. Yeah, it's my decision. I absolutely do make that decision. And I base it only on the obvious fact that I'm one of many apes on the planet. I'm a human. I steal that idea from one of my heroes, Stephen Woodward, who does an atheist podcast, and he refers to his friends as fellow apes. And that's part of my belief system. I understand from biology that, yeah, indeed we are apes and everything. Anyway, to get back to the point of the arrogance, maybe there's some ways that you can look at that as being arrogant. One of the ways, I guess I would have to accept the idea of arrogance, because I look at my life and I think, well, as far as this life is concerned, yes, I'm the most important person to me. But, as I've already said, I have lots of people who are important to me. I have family members, I have my friends that live next door that we're very close to, and I consider a sister. My wife I consider, my closest friend, my lover, my everything. Even though I look at my life as, my life centers around me, in just about every situation, I would put Glenda's life ahead of mine, and that kind of thing. Anyway, that's just an argument on the side of me trying to show that my simple assertion that I do not believe that any God exists, I don't see how that in itself is arrogance. Now, my friend David, the born-again Christian, on the other hand, he claims to have a personal relationship with Jesus, and Jesus is God, whatever sort of thing. Now, I asked him at the time, does that not sound, you're saying this God guy is a personal friend of yours? That to me sounds like the ultimate kind of arrogance. He's not making any claim that he deserves this friendship or anything, but it seems like name dropping, you know. I personally know the president of Mexico, or I personally am friends with the mayor of Zihuatanejo where I live. It's not true, but it seems like that kind of thing, name dropping. Jesus, God is my... So it seems to me, if we're going to talk about being arrogant, the Christian argument is precisely that. It's an argument. According to the Christian doctrine, God made the whole of creation, you know, as the Bible says right at the beginning. In the beginning, God made the heavens and the earth. Then shortly after that, made Adam and Eve, which resulted in... So he made the whole thing just for us. So it's this idea. God loves us so much that he made this whole thing for us. I mean, the whole thing just reeks of arrogance, saying we are so important because we're God's creation or something. Well, I don't believe that. I think that we are... It seems to me that my belief system is exactly the opposite. We are an animal, a great ape, that lives on this planet with other human beings. There's like 8 billion of us now, so we're just like ants crawling around. We're not important. We're basically an accident of evolution and the creation. However this planet was formed, how it came to be, and everything. I tend to even use the religious words. Like I almost find it automatic to say how this world was created, which of course suggests a creator. But it wasn't created as far as we can see. It just basically happened. So if you happen to think as an atheist that I am, that means I'm arrogant, that I want to replace God, no. If you ask me, I'll explain to you happily. I don't think that a God, you know, the Bible God or any other God exists. Any of the ones I've heard about, anyway, they just don't seem rational, and I see zero evidence. And over again I say to believers, well look, they want to tell me that this God exists and he wants me to believe in him. Talk about arrogance. This God character, if he does exist, the height of his arrogance is bloody well incredible. He demands that everybody worships him, and what? Anyway, that kind of thinking and commentary drives me nuts. I'd just like to reiterate again, for me, the whole concept, the whole idea of God, the Bible story, you know, the Garden of Eden and Eve talking with the snake, the whole thing is a fairy tale. It just makes absolutely no sense. And I repeatedly say, look, if this God actually does exist and wants me to believe, I don't agree with the motivation, everything sounds ridiculous, but okay, if he exists, then he would know, and he has all this power and he can do anything. Please show me, give me some evidence that he exists, make me believe that he exists. That would be very easy for him. I'm totally open-minded. And then the fun would start. If God exists, I want to know. I really want to know. And I want to have conversations with this God. I have a lot of questions to ask. Anyway, I'm Ed, and it's, what did we say? It's the 20th December? 28th of December, 2020. Only a couple of more days left, and we'll be into the year 2021. Wow, that sounds incredible, doesn't it? And look for this, this video should show up on Atheist to Bird with No Cage and English from Canada with Eddie, 2 channels. Please listen to it. I hope it helps you to understand how I think. And if you're following this on the channel English from Canada with Eddie, I hope that it helps you to maybe understand the way we use the English language, and I hope that you can understand the English enough to understand what I'm saying. Have fun with learning your English, and please have fun with thinking about the questions that I bring up about religion. And that's all for today. Thank you. I'm Ed. See you next time.